Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English One. I'm Sophie Lee. It's our pleasure to have Professor Jonathan Claassen to be with us again today. Professor Claassen, please say hello to the audience.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Claassen, and English professor at Suzhou University.
Right, thank you. 第13个单元，我们要谈谈博物馆和画廊展示人体时所面临到的伦理问题。这个问题，人们已经争论了很多年了。上一个单元，我们也讨论到人们开始思考，博物馆在展示人类遗骸时，是否应该要考虑到这些物品缘起的种族或是宗教团体的感受和同意。我们请 Jonathan 老师来问问以下的问题。
Should the dead be displayed? Ethical issues that museums and galleries should consider when displaying the body have been debated for years. The previous unit, we talked about how people start to think about whether museums should consider the feelings and consent of the ethnic or religious groups from which these objects originate when displaying human remains.
Thank you, Professor Claassen. You have been teaching children's literature, and some of them involve ethical issues. What are the commonest ethical issues in children's literature? Can you introduce us some of the books related to ethical issues?
That's a good question. One of the most common functions associated with children's books is moral education, helping children to understand what is right and what is wrong. The best books don't tell readers what is right and wrong, but show realistic scenarios in which characters make decisions and learn about the consequences. In good books, as in real life, good actions don't always lead to the best consequences, and bad actions don't always yield bad results. But by experiencing the stories along with the characters, good readers gain experience dealing with moral issues that hopefully help them make good moral choices in their own lives. Alice in Wonderland is a great example of a story in which Alice is never sure what is the right or wrong behavior. And readers have to judge for themselves whether they think she or other characters are being rude. Almost every children's book deals with such issues as obedience, appropriate behavior, honesty, and these are all, of course, moral issues.
Thank you, Jonathan. 是的。除了为了阅读而阅读，和儿童文学相关的最常见的功能之一呢，就是道德教育，帮助儿童了解什么是对跟错。最好的书并没有告诉读者是非对错，而是呈现了现实中的场景。在这些场景中，角色可以做出决定，并了解后果。好书呢，就像在现实生活中一样哦，这个好的举动呢，并不总是会带来好的结果，而不好的行为呢，也不会总是带来坏的结果。但是透过跟人物一起经历这个故事，好的读者会获得处理道德问题的经验，这也可以帮助他们在自己的生活中做出良好的道德选择。这个《爱丽丝梦游仙境》是一个很伟大的故事哦，其中爱丽丝永远不确定自己什么时候是对或是错的，读者必须自己判断自己是否认为他或是其他角色是没有礼貌的，或是行为上有什么偏差的。几乎每一本儿童读物都涉及到顺从这个议题，还有是不是行为有适当或是诚实的这类的问题。这些问题呢，当然都是道德的问题。Before the lesson starts, Professor Claassen, please explain the following words for us.
Ethnic, as an adjective, all people belong to one or more ethnic groups. Also, as an adjective, we can talk about ethnic relating to or characteristic of a large group of people who have the same national, racial, or cultural origins, and who usually speak the same language. An ethnic neighborhood. She loves ethnic foods, especially Romanian and Japanese. So ethnic food, Japanese For example, conflicts between different ethnic groups in the country exploded into critical riots. Ethnic costume, and then ethical, relating to beliefs about what is morally right and wrong. Museums and galleries have debated ethical issues about displaying dead bodies for years. Exotic, relating to something of foreign origin or character. He keeps exotic pets, like snakes and tropical birds.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. The first paragraph talks about how the National Palace Museum made some efforts to amend the way they displayed Egyptian mummies in order to respect the dead. Professor Claassen, please read the paragraph for us.
Should the dead be displayed? Displays of ancient human remains are a unique attraction in some exhibitions. Ethical issues that museums and galleries should consider when displaying the body have been debated for years. In the case of displaying Egyptian mummies at the National Palace Museum in 2017, the National Palace Museum had made some effort to amend the way museums displayed Egyptian mummies in order to respect the dead. In other words, instead of placing mummies in the context of historical timeline as part of a displayed order, the curator decided to make the exhibition educational. Also, by using computerized tomography, CT scanning, the museum could study and display the mummies without opening the coffins. This means the information along with the object needs to be based on well-done research. And the way or the context that museum displays the object shouldn't offend either related cultures, religions, or visitors.
Thank you, Jonathan. 在很多的文学作品中呢，我们读到古代的绞刑，好，或是当众斩首，甚至还有当众解剖尸体，由教授来讲解这个解剖学的这样子的一个文章哦。那公开展示死者呢，是否恰当呢？我们来看看这一段啊，这一段里面讲到的 displays of ancient human remains are a unique attraction in some exhibitions。这句的 displays 是当名词，这句的翻译是指古代人类遗骸的公开陈列是展览的特点。这句话我们来找出它的主词跟动词，找出它的主词跟动词以后就会很清楚了。比如说in other words, museums and galleries have been debated ethical issues about displaying dead bodies for years. 换句话说，博物馆和画廊在展示人体所应该考虑的伦理问题已经被争论很多年了。Professor Claassen, please read the next paragraph for us.
In the case of displaying Egyptian mummies at the National Palace Museum in 2017, the National Palace Museum had made some effort to amend the way museums display Egyptian mummies in order to respect the dead.
以这件事情为例 in the case of what? 就 displaying Egyptian mummies at National Palace Museum in 2017， 在国立故宫博物院陈列埃及木乃伊这件事情为例，国立故宫博物院做了一些努力，来修改博物馆陈列埃及木乃伊的方式，以尊重死者。我们用 make 这个字呢来修饰一些名词，比如说 to make effort、to make friends、to make enemies、to make amends， 就是修正的意思。to make room 制造空间。To make time 找出时间 ，amend 这个字可以当动词跟名词，这里的 amend 是动词。To amend the way museums display Egyptian mummies in order to respect the dead， 做出一些努力修改博物馆陈列埃及木乃伊的方式，以尊重死者。这里的 the way 这是方式的意思哈 ，the way we were，the way we eat，the way we talk。The way we move, the way we walk, the way we smile, the way we do things. OK， 在1973年哈，美国浪漫剧情片的电影主题曲哈《往日情怀》，它英文就是说 The way we were， 好，它是由 Barbara Streisand 跟那个 Robert Redford 主演的。那唱歌学英文也是一个很有效的学习英文的方式哈。OK， 那接下来我们谈谈啊，我们可以说 ，In order to respect the dead, the National Palace Museum had made some efforts to amend the way museum display Egyptian mummies. In other words， 换句话说，接下来我们来看看这一段。与其用历史时间表的方式来展示，好 ，instead of placing mummies in the context of a historical timelines as part of the display object，the curator 是主词 ，decided 是动词。To make the exhibition educational and to present each mummy as an individual， 这策展人呢决定不将木乃伊用历史时间表的方式来呈现，而是让这个展览更具有教育性。To make something educational。好，我们来看看 computerized tomography， 就是 CT scan 啊，这个 computerized tomography scanning 啊，就是我们现在健检的时候会做的一个电脑断层的扫描。This means that the information presented along with the object needed to be based on individualized research, and the way that the museum displays the object shouldn't offend either related cultures, religions, or visitors. 这里的 this 很重要。它指的是前面提到的两个事情。前面提到的哪两件事情呢？它意味着什么呢？这意味着说，跟展示品相关的讯息必须要基于缜密的研究 ，well done research 是缜密的研究 ，along with 是随着跟着的意思。而博物馆展示该物品的方式或内容，也不应该冒犯相关的文化或是宗教或是游客。offend 这个字很好用，我们来看看它的用法。Professor Jonathan, please read the next passage for us.
Offend as a verb here. To make someone upset or angry. I think she was offended that she wasn't invited to the party.
我认为他没有受邀参加聚会会很生气。
No offense, here a noun, used when you say something that might upset or annoy someone. No offense, but I find your sister a little annoying.
无意冒犯哦，但我觉得你的妹妹有一点烦。Annoying 这里呢，我们可以当烦的意思。好 ，offend 这个字当动词就是冒犯哦。No offense 呢就是冒犯啊、得罪啦，或是惹恼别人的意思哦。接下来我们第二段，我们来谈到究竟是由谁来决定埃及木乃伊要如何展示呢？以及表示对死者的尊重呢？Professor Carson, please read the second paragraph for us.
There are some issues that still remain controversial. Who determines whether it is appropriate to display Egyptian mummies, and how to respect dignity in the context of placing mummies? Because no one is qualified to represent the ancient culture, museums are given a wider flexibility and power to make decisions on whether to exhibit human remains.
Some issues remain controversial， 就是说还有一些议题呢是仍在争议当中的。For example, exactly who decides the way the Egyptian mummies are displayed and how to respect the dead in the context of placing mummies. 例如呢，谁来决定如何展示埃及木乃伊比较合适呢？以及该如何放置木乃伊，以示对死者的尊重。我们来看看 in the context of 的用法。Jonathan, please.
Context and the influences and events related to a particular event or situation. It is important to see all the battling and bloodshed in his plays in historical context. In the context of the situation within which something exists or happens, and that can help explain it. For example, this battle scene is very essential in the context of Viking history. Out of context. If words are used out of context, their meaning is not clear or is not understood. The reporter took my remarks completely out of context.
Context 这个字呢，是 和特定事件或情境相关的一个情境啊，比如说 in historical context 历史的情境啊，这例句说 It is important to see all the battering and bloodshed in his play in historical context。在这个历史的情境里面，我们是很重要的，会看到这些 battering 跟那个 bloodshed 的场景是很重要的哦。好，接下来我们看看哦。Out of context 的意思呢，就是有点断章取义的意思哦。If words are used out of context, their meaning is not clear or it is not understood。哦，断章取义通常呢都会让人家不清楚你在说什么啊。比如说例句说 ，The reporter took my remarks completely out of context。这个新闻记者呢，他把我说的话呢就断章取义了。哦 ，OK, thank you, Jonathan. It is interesting because no one is qualified to represent the ancient culture. It does mean that museums get to decide whether to exhibit human remains. 好，这句话是说，由于没有人有资格代表古代的文化，因此呢，博物馆被赋予更大的灵活性和权力来决定是否展示人类的遗骸。当我们被托付重要责任的时候呢，相对所要承受的责任就很大。大家还记得电影那个《Spider-Man》里面的台词吗 ？With great power comes great responsibility. Yes, the expression is used in the Spider-Man comic book. Now, let's move on to paragraph 3. What did ancient Egyptians believe? Before we talk about the paragraph, let Jonathan tell you a story.Which was told in the movie The Bucket List 一路玩到挂的电影哈 Jonathan?
In this movie, Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman were two terminally ill men escaping from a cancer ward who headed off on a road trip with a wish to do before they died, with a wish of to-dos before they died. When they flew to Egypt, Morgan Freeman shared the story of how the Egyptians went to their heaven. The story goes like this.The ancient Egyptians had a beautiful belief about death. When their souls got to the entrance of heaven, the gods asked them two questions. Their answers determined whether they were admitted or not. The two questions are, have you found joy in your life? Has your life brought joy to others?
Yes, exactly. Some people don't care how other people gauge or think about them.These are two questions to enter Egyptians' heavens, anyways. OK， 或许你也想要问问自己哦，你找到生命的喜悦了吗？你的生命带给任何人快乐过吗？这是个很严肃的问题哦，大家可以从现在就开始想。好，我刚刚Johnson 老师讲的那个故事呢，相信大家都很清楚，因为不是太难哦。Right. 我们来看看这一段。Jonathan, please read the third paragraph for us.How
do we respect the dead in the context of placing mummies? Ancient Egyptians believed that each human has two spirits, Ka and Ba, no matter in life or death, and when they passed away, it was also believed that Ba would return to its body each night to retrieve new life. Before Ka and Ba emerged in the morning as an Ak,That's why they preserved the body of the deceased. Accordingly, an ancient Egyptian took their afterlife very seriously and would not be willing to be transformed from his body, would not be willing to be transferred from his or her tomb to a glass case in a museum. However, if human remains, Egyptian mummies in this case, are studied and displayed for the purpose of public education,Then the weight of respect and public education can be recalculated to reach a compromise. It's essential that museums restrain visitors' behaviors. For example, museums can display the mummies without opening the coffins, place the funerary objects as the Egyptians did, and create a similar atmosphere or color tone as the tombs. Meanwhile,keep visitors from taking photos and talking during the entire exhibition.
OK， 我们如何来放置木乃伊 才表示尊重死者呢？古埃及的人相信哈，无论生跟死，每一个人都有2种灵魂 ，Ka 跟 Ba。当他们过世的时候 ，when they pass away，OK， Jonathan, please read the following passage for us.
It was also believed that Ba would return to its body each night to retrieve new life, before Ka and Ba emerged in the morning as an Ak. That's why they preserved the body of the deceased.
这里的 retrieve 呢是 reclaim 的意思。人们呢还相信 Ba 每晚都会回到这个身体里面，然后会 reclaim 会去重拾他们的这些生命。而在 Ka 跟 Ba 早上呢以 Ark 出现之前呢，这就是他们保存死者遗体的原因。The deceased the 加形容词呢是集合名词的用法。之前我们学过了 the sick, the homeless, the blind, the dead. Next, Jonathan, please explain the following usage.
Accordingly, as an adverb, okay, in a way that is suitable or right for the situation. When we receive your money, we will take action accordingly. Helen's an expert in journalism and is paid accordingly. Accordingly, an ancient Egyptian took their afterlife very seriously and would not have been willing to be transferred from his or her tomb to a glass case in a museum.
是的，可以肯定的是，一个古埃及人非常认真地对待他们的来世，不愿意从他们的坟墓转移到博物馆的玻璃柜中。However 的这一段话。如果我们不看框起来的字哈，这整个句子就很清楚了。但是如果这个句子的意思是，但是如果为了大众教育而研究并展示人类的遗体，这指的是木乃伊，则可以重新考量尊重跟大众教育的重要性，以求折中。The weight of respect and public education can be recalculated to reach the compromise zone.Compromise 是妥协、折中、让步的意思。我们来看看下面的句子。It is essential that museums restrain visitors' behavior. 这里的 essential 是指重要的、必须的意思。博物馆必须限制游客的行为。Restrain 是限制的意思。接下来这几句话是说明博物馆可以如何表示尊重木乃伊。例如，博物馆可以在不打开棺木的情况下展示木乃伊，可以像埃及人那样摆设陪葬品，funerary object，OK，并且可以营造出和陵墓类似的气氛跟色调。同时呢，在整个展览期间，禁止游客拍照跟交谈。Without 这个字呢是介系词，后面加动名词。Meanwhile 是副词。在这个期间，或是meanwhile 同时的意思。To keep someone from doing something， 禁止某人做某事。接下来我们来看看这一课的文法。这一课的文法就是 it is 加形容词，然后后面再加一个 that 子句。It is normal， 或是 it is amazing，it is essential that， 后面加一个 that 子句呢，会有个主词跟动词。OK，那我们也会用 it is 后面加名词哈，比如说 it is a shame，it is no wonder，it is a pity， 后面一样加的是 that 子句 ，OK， 好，我们来举个例子哦。It is strange that Christine turned down Phantom's proposal。OK， 我没有看过那歌剧《魅影》哦，这里面是讲的那个Christine 跟 Phantom 的故事哦。好。第二个例句 ，It is a shame that Helen missed the party. Okay, Jonathan, please introduce the following words for us.
Okay, vocabulary. Number 1 is remain.
Remain 呢是动词，遗留或剩余的意思。
The restaurant will remain open while renovations are in process.
这间餐厅在修缮进行期间呢，将依旧开门营业。
Number 2, ethical.
Ethical 呢是形容词，道德的、伦理的。
Transplantations of organs from living donors raises many ethical issues.
移植活体捐赠者的 器官引发很多的伦理问题。
Number 3, timeline.
Timeline 呢是先后的顺序表。
The definition of timeline is a linear representation of important events.
时间线的这个定义呢是重要事件的线性表示。
Number 4, tomography.
这个 tomography 呢是局部 X 光的那个断层摄影法。
Tomography is widely used in modern science.
断层扫描呢在现代医学中被广泛的使用。
By using computerized tomography, CT scanning, the museum could study and display the mummies without opening the coffins.
接着使用断层扫描，博物馆呢不需要打开棺木就可以研究和展示木乃伊。
Number 5, controversial.
形容词它有争议的，或是引起争议的。
The issue of abortion is still highly controversial.
这堕胎问题呢，仍然引起高度的争议。
Number 6, context.
Context 呢是名词，就是背景、环境，或是有上下文、语境的意思。
Business etiquette is important in a business context.
商业的礼节在商业环境中很重要。
Number 7, retrieve.
Retrieve 呢是动词，找回、挽回的意思。
They've managed to retrieve most of the data.
他们设法挽回了大部分的数据。
Number 8, emerge.
Emerge 呢是浮现，动词哈，它是露出、摆脱出来或是存活下来的意思。
The celebrity emerged unharmed from the scandal.
这个名人呢，从丑闻中毫发无损的摆脱出来。
Number 9, preserve.
Preserve 呢是动词，保护、保存的意思。还有当形容词，形容词的意思是对什么什么进行保鲜的处理或是储存。
I need to get out of the house just to prevent my losing my sanity.
我需要到户外去保持头脑清醒。
Number 10, deceased.
Deceased 呢是名词，就是逝去的人。它有当形容词的意思，是死亡的、死的或是去世的。
The recently deceased member of the parliament died of COVID-19.
最近过世的这个议员呢，是死于新冠病毒。
Number 11, accordingly.
Accordingly 呢是副词，相应的。
When the soldiers receive their instructions, they will act accordingly.
当军人接到指示的时候呢，就会遵命行事。今天非常感谢 Professor Jonathan Klassen 帮我们助讲第13个单元，我们下次见。Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.